Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed and we are reading Socrates and Jesus, A Dialogue in Heaven. Welcome to those joining us in the chat. Now, where are we today? Well, we have been, we've brought to birth a puzzle. How in the heck can the trial and execution of Socrates, a literal gift from God in his own words, how can that be just? Socrates is claiming there's a justice to his trial and execution. He also is claiming he was appointed by God, sent by God to be a philosopher to benefit all of mankind. Also, we have been able to trace the historical causes to mankind's problems now, and I'm going to sneeze. Bless you.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
For sneezing? My goodness, Emma. We've been able to trace the history of mankind's predicament to this event. In that, Socrates was sharing the dialectic and had all four elements of dianoia, understanding. He had a metaphysics, the dialectic allowing us to understand the truth of self and reality, including the true model of justice, to have a just society and a just world and just souls. Turning on my fan. It turned off. Uh-oh. We're good. So he had metaphysics or philosophy. He had midwifery, which is the dialectic applied to removing problems. He had dream analysis, which is needed for both of those two exercises. And he was on the verge of creating mythology. He was going to rearrange the common mythology of the time, Aesop's fables, to make this understanding available to everyone. Through mythology, the four aspects: Phil, midwife, DA, and myth. I don't know. Philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and mythology. We killed him before he'd shared his mythology. We killed him for not following the official gods, and including Homer. Homer, of course, talked about midwifery and dream analysis, so his successor, Plato, his student Plato, didn't want to include that, seeing as we killed him for that. So there goes dream analysis and midwifery. Of course, without those two things, Plato wasn't able to reach the level of metaphysics and spirituality that Socrates reached, so we lost half of mythology, or half of philosophy. And after Socrates came Aristotle, who had a problem accepting even that. And without midwifery and dream analysis in his back pocket, Plato wasn't able to midwife away Aristotle's problems. So then we lost what remained of philosophy, giving us the current modern Roman tradition in opposition to Socrates, in opposition to truth, in opposition to the Greeks. Materialism or Aristotelianism, that's where we are. So we don't have what we need to solve problems, and we don't have what we need to reach our excellence or purpose or destiny, giving us the playing out of the implications of problems. The people in running politics and religion are all playing out their false, sick, pathologos beliefs. That's just it. It's just that simple. They don't care about caring for anybody. They don't care about universal principles. They don't care about understanding. They don't care about knowing. They just care about their own personal beliefs. And those personal beliefs manifest as conflict. They are in conflict within themselves, and they function in conflict with others. So they're in conflict with the very people they're supposed to be helping. So it's the ruling class that have all the money and not the people. The exact opposite. It's not the doctor who gets to take all the medicine, it's the patient. Always. So we're asked backwards because we have a belief. So instead of those cognitive functions of understanding, knowing, and using it to benefit, it's bound by belief. That's the pathologos. We are playing out the implications of losing those four things to the destruction of our race. It will put an end to all life. We see it playing out now. We see the concentration camps being set up in America. We see the fascists and Nazis taking over. Again, just personal pathologos, institutionalized and venerated. Well, I don't like blacks, so therefore we should kill all the blacks, says Donald Trump. That kind of thing. Equally say, I don't like people who are not Jewish, says Netanyahu, let's kill all the non-Jews, etc., etc. That's literally part of religious teaching, because that's when Jesus comes back, when the world is brought to an end. Of course, that's not what Jesus said, that's what Paul said. Again, same issue. Jesus talked about understanding parables, knowing heaven as a state of mind, and the kingdom of God as self. This can be seen in the writings of Mark and the Gnostic Gospels, but Paul flipped it around and said, well, actually, let's just blow up everything and everyone believe me. And by the way, he thought that would happen in his lifetime. So currently on TikTok and things like that, you see all of these, hey, welcome. Great, how are you going? What question is bugging you today? So we see on TikTok, that's, thanks. You look sick, are you? That's not a very nice thing to say. And someone being funny in chat. So we see on TikTok, yeah, don't start, you look terrible. What's wrong? It's negging. The Christians thought that the rapture would come recently, and of course it didn't, and now they pushed the date back. Apparently it's happening in a couple of weeks, but this is the same thing because Paul said the rapture would happen in his lifetime, but of course it didn't. But again, showing that modern Christians are Pauline Jews. Yeah, no, I'm fine. How are you going? What's going on in your world? So, that's where we're at currently. The blind loyalty to Paul's belief, as the Christians playing that out, and of course the blind loyalty to the pathologos beliefs of people who seek positions to play out their pathologos, to play out mummy and daddy's tyrannical knowing role. That's literally all that qualifies current kings and clergy. They don't have understanding, they don't have knowledge, they're not sages, they're imitating the same injustice they grew up with as a baby. Not hard to see. If you know anything about Trump's parents or Putin's upbringing or Netanyahu's family, it's pretty fucking obvious. That's what's going on. And considering we are in this situation because we don't have a model of justice, because we lost philosophy to Aristotle, we don't have midwifery and dream analysis to remove human problems, because we murdered Socrates in front of his student Plato, and we don't have mythology to share this with the world because Socrates was killed before he was able to do that, then how can we say, if we can trace historically the root turning point that has caused all of mankind's current suffering, if we can trace it back to a point in history where we murdered Socrates, we put him on trial and killed him, how can we say that that was just? How can Socrates say that that was just? In the future you're working and I'll miss you. Oh, you should get your workplace to project my streams in a public area so everyone can watch and work. We're set up for an interview, kind of excited, kind of scared, but alas, money is money. Oh, what are you scared about? You mean just us that wins, Republicans? Yes. Justice, just us can win, says the Repubs. Oh, it might be, seeing as you, I guess, getting into the grind, I haven't been a server in a bit. Ah, yes. Yes, I get that. I understand that. Waitress. So, it might be worth pulling out your notebook or your note app and just taking notes. Yeah, we don't have servers. We have, I guess, waitresses, I suppose. Maybe they're called servers. I don't know. I've been a musician for a long time, so I haven't had money. So I don't eat out. So, I mean, I don't eat at restaurants. So, I don't know what they're called. But it might be worth taking notes of the thoughts and feelings and images that come up in this heightened state. You're approaching a goal. It's part of a step towards your higher goals. But along the way, we will experience... Also, I spot Pikachu. Oh yes, Pikachu. And we have another one behind me. And Kirby. And a rainbow owl. This is my new work table. So in the middle of my lounge, but I do so much work on my guitars that I need to have a place to put them. It's my new work table. But it has little cubbies for stuffies. And there's the mini Phoenix. The Maxi Phoenix is in the corner behind the... There he is. Yeah. Because that's what streamers have. They have little... I think that's the meta on in streaming. Like bookcases with little shelves, and they have items. Yeah. And there's a Mario mushroom in the corner there as well. Plushie shrines, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, so if we can trace the turning point towards the disaster we're in to this trial, how in the heck can Socrates call this just? Now, that's the question. We have some clues we have been developing. We have seen also in our physical world rampant injustice. Every day, people are suffering injustice. And the way we were able to make sense of that was through reincarnation. We put an end to the false beliefs about hell and demons and the devil and evil, which of course we can trace back to Zoroaster and Abraham, manifesting in the Abrahamic religions, but fundamentally it's belief itself. Why? Because belief can't understand problems, and so it can't solve problems, but also belief wants to be in charge. Belief can't actually be in charge with any sort of understanding, knowledge, or guruship. It has to imitate, meaning it can't help people, it can only hurt people. It can only elevate to a position of rulership by violence, oppression, and fear. Belief breaks things. Belief hurts people. Belief can't help anything. So, not only can belief not solve problems, belief wants to be ruling, and it can only rule tyrannically. It can only do so with violence. The way of justifying violence is through punishment. It's okay to do a genocide, says Netanyahu, because we're teaching them a lesson for fighting back against our genocide. Hamas, or they don't believe in our God, so we have to teach them a lesson. So that's the thing. belief will always vilify human beings to give an explanation for problems that can justify violence and oppression, and also can understand problems without actually understanding problems, because understanding problems requires understanding. So how do you explain problems? Why is there crime? It's not because of extreme wealth inequality and capitalism. No. It's because they're naughty. They're naughty. They have sin in their hearts. So we have to put them in a cage and torture them. Yes, that will help them remove the sin in their hearts. See, it sounds stupid. Hey, how's it going, Reeve? Welcome. So, belief can't solve problems, and belief will always otherize groups of people. They will vilify them. They are evil. They are heretics. They are goyim. They are infidels, etc. They are criminals. Okay, so that's the use of the word evil. They are evil or bad in nature, which is a lie. And of course, if they are bad in nature, there's no learning. You just kill the fuckers. Because the devil doesn't want to learn, and the devil doesn't want good things, so you can only kill them. That's our current world. Fascist believers using the idea of evil, giving the name of the day, woke, or I don't know, terrorist or criminal or anti-Semitic, a word that makes you evil, to justify violence. So this is all just belief. So two aspects of belief. I'm in charge tyrannically, and also can't solve problems. So, because we saw that that's irrational, gets in the way of actual learning, so it can't be an actual principle, and also the idea of there being a supernatural evil figure can't exist metaphysically, because the higher metaphysical levels of reality are good. The idea of the good is being, the self that we're after is the good self. So there can't exist the idea of devil or evil in principle, and in effect it can't be a rational thing. And of course the word sin is another lie from the church. The word is amation, which means to miss the mark. It doesn't mean you are a bad person and fuck you and suffer and die. That's the pathologos ignorance, in exact opposition to realizing all selves are noble, all minds are divine, and all human beings are on the same quest to awaken understanding, to know mind and self. All of us, every one of us, not one person has to be murdered, you fuckers, with your belief. Okay, that's just the game. Belief versus understanding. It's just that simple. So, if there's no such thing as hell or some sort of eternal punishment, how can we make sense of the injustices that we experience in our physical world? Reincarnation was the answer that Socrates gave us. There is no punishment in hell. That doesn't make any sense. But your reincarnation will lead you to play out or suffer the effects of your own injustice in this life. Whatever you have done in an unjust way, you will reincarnate into a life where you will suffer that injustice lived out in a lifetime. Reincarnation. So there's the balance. It's not a punishment, because there is always an opportunity to reflect on the causes of injustice and solve them, should you awaken to your purpose of understanding the logos. But that means we have to stand back and look at our lifetimes within a greater whole. Individual lifetimes, yes, lots and lots of injustice. But looking back, at all of our lifetimes, and we can see, oh, I see that there is a greater justice that you can only perceive from a higher perspective or from a greater level of whole. The more holes, the better.
I've been a bad little girl. I'm too pure. The more holes, the better.
There we go. So there's a clue. Because it seems on the surface that it was terribly unjust to murder Socrates, a gift from God to benefit everyone. Now we also have some other clues. Let's look at them. So one clue, one issue, I don't know if it's a clue, is if you state something clearly and simply, no one will get it. So here is Socrates stating clearly and simply, the cause of problems is belief, and you need to develop understanding to solve problems and reach your higher excellence. It's just that fucking simple. No one gets it. No one cares. No one sees the implications. Goes over their head. So that's an issue. If you want to make a teaching private, and so it can earn the title esoteric, just say it clearly and simply and you'll find no one gets it. Okay? And we have an example of that principle with the quote from Socrates. What I do not know, I don't think I do know. This is one of the most misquoted quotes of all time. People use it to say, oh, Socrates means he doesn't know anything. No, read it. What I do not know, I don't think that I do. He's not saying he doesn't know anything. Grandmas on Facebook. He's saying he does know, and he knows what knowing is, so much so that he's not going to confuse it with things that are not objects of knowledge. In two ways. First of all, the experience of pure knowledge is so staggeringly unique, profound, beautiful, blissful, that you're not going to mistake it for any physical sense perception or any stupid opinion or belief. So you're not going to mistake it for what's less. And on the other side, there is a state beyond knowing, the state of self. The state of self as one, or good, is beyond names and the logos, and so it is beyond knowing. So not only does he have knowledge and he knows what it is, he can compare it to beliefs, opinions, and sense perception, which are not knowing. People say, well, I know what this is because I learned it from the school of hard knocks. How do you know that? I know it from life experience. Bollocks, that's not knowing. That's experience. It's not knowing. Well, it's not the experience of knowing, which is eternity. And likewise, the big question, how the heck do we know the self if the self or the state of self is beyond knowing? That's the big question. So, people say it clearly and simply, and people don't get it. That's one issue. So Socrates is saying, well, my trial is just. I got a chance to defend myself. They just didn't get it. So is that an answer? We're doing our best, and so long as we do our best, that's justice. And even though he said clearly and simply that he is a gift from God to save humanity, and he benefits everyone, and he should get room and board for his entire life in the Prytaneum. The fact that we're so fucking stupid that we won't get it, even if it's so obvious, that we're doing our best, so it's just. Because you say, well, at least they gave me a chance to address my accusers. Is that an answer? Not sure. We'll carry that with us. We have the puzzle that we just read about excellence and pseudo-excellence. While there are situations where we can admire excellence, like at a concert or a Super Bowl, and that can inspire us to achieve our own excellence. So when we want to go out skating, we will watch some skate videos and we will see the excellence in skating, and that will inspire us to skate ourselves. Or you're going to the gym and you watch a Dragon Ball Z compilation or something, inspiring you to achieve that excellence too. But the issue is, human beings are seeking the appearance of excellence from their childhood clan beliefs, imitating a parental figure who appeared most knowing and caring and sincere and knew the truth about life. That's pseudo-excellence. And as we said, belief can't actually benefit, ever. It can only crush. So, Dragon Ball Z is excellence, that's a fact. Yes. And if you agree and I agree, that's two of us, that's a consensus, it must be true. Yes. If human beings have our problems because we're seeking pseudo-excellence or the appearance of excellence, and that has only functioned in a way that has crushed understanding, crushed the logos, crushed development that you were doing when you were too young, when you were young, but you have this experience and you're right, and you were doing really well, developing your own understanding, following the logos, and your parents came in and finally showed themselves in this big, strong, knowing way, and it's rare, and you've never seen your parents like that, and you make some conclusions. Oh my God, I've never seen them this way. I never knew they could be like this. Not only is this true, it's going to be my model of excellence, and it's my image of reality that I'm going to be bound to my whole life. But not only that, everything prior to this experience was wrong. I was stupid. I could never have imagined that all I was doing was loving understanding or pursuing my own goals as a wee being, as a wee child. I could never have expected this. I am stupid. That's the origin of childhood amnesia. That moment. Everything up until now, forgotten. Because this is most real. The imitation of the spiritual initiation experienced by believers cosplaying a guru, parents or parental surrogates being the king priest of the house. We need to go back and pick up where we left off. And that's why midwifery and dream analysis is necessary for everyone. Because that's the origin of your pseudo-excellence. And as we said, pseudo-excellence based on belief can only hurt. Here is Socrates displaying the logos, whatever they were doing as a kid. Here is Socrates doing it as excellence. And for all these people passing judgment, they're not qualified to do it. They're only pretending to be qualified because they don't know shit compared to Socrates. And I've been in jury duty. I know it. I've seen it. All of these people have to pretend to be knowing, and they're ignorant. They all, to a person, imitate the injustice and cruelty of their own fucking parents. They become the most racist, bigoted, sexist, cruel sadists you've ever fucking seen. Because they're trying to be their best. Not because they're evil, because they're trying to be most good. The problem is their model of good is not the true model of good. That would be the real illumination, enlightenment experience. It's the imitation of the enlightenment experience when our parents appeared that way or pretended to be that way. So here's Socrates displaying the logos in the highest sense. Of course they are going to want to kill him if they are trying their best and they haven't gone through midwifery and dream analysis. Because what they imitate is belief. Belief crushes the logos, crushes excellence. So here is Socrates in the excellence of the logos. They will obviously want to crush him. So, that's an explanation of why it happened or how it happened, but does that explain why it was just? I don't know. The other side of that is excellence can inspire us. Can we be inspired by an excellence that we see in Socrates defending philosophy and the life of a philosopher? So here's the issue. Man as a whole has a purpose or destiny. And the race of man ends when we've completed our work in a state no longer of man, but to that greater whole which we have joined ourselves. So, this seems to be the rub. Yes, there is the problem with excellence versus pseudo-excellence. There is the issue that if you say something simply and clearly, no one will get it. And they'll call it strange and esoteric. Also, Socrates saying, they thought I was strange. And I am strange compared to them. The normies. But also, they didn't know that a philosopher was sent to them for their true benefit, and they were confused. So we've said without midwifery and dream analysis, you can't remove that pseudo-excellence that seeks to crush understanding. But without philosophy, the other thing, you wouldn't have learnt that confusion or puzzlement or being stung is a good thing. So here they are, confused about Socrates saying that he has been sent to fucking benefit them, and their reaction to confusion is, it's bad I'm confused. They don't have philosophy to recognize it's good that they're confused. So they react in a negative way to their confusion, instead of a curious, wondering way to their confusion. So another explanation of how it happened, but again, how is it just? If he was sent by God to awaken the sleeping souls of man by stinging them with questions about the nature of man and the divine, being a rare and beautiful gift, awakening man from our sleep of normalcy, don't be an NPC, don't be a normie. A rare gift from God. If they don't get that, then they're confused. So again, they've got problems that seek to crush understanding in the logos, pseudo-excellence. They don't have an understanding that confusion is part of learning, because they don't know what learning is, because they don't have philosophy. They can't reason. It goes over their head when things are said clearly and simply. Not everyone appreciates the beauty and rationality of clear, simple reasoning. But how is it all just? Now, the clue is, I think, the fact that we can ask the same things. All of these things apply to Socrates' trial as the excellence, the extreme. And we've got the idea of extreme in the book. So in the same section, so this is how you read. You take the pieces of the section together, and you take the clues and you piece them together in the book. And in the book we have this idea that a just world, here, a just society with just laws needs to review the justice of the law and the punishment. The courts review the rationality behind the law as it applies to the best of its citizens and the worst. And he said, I was allowed an opportunity to dialogue with my confused accusers and present my case before the 501 in the jury. Punishment? No, I didn't suffer. It caused me no anguish. I smiled my way through the doorway of death. Was anything learned? Here is the thing. For there to be justice, there has to be a reason for the suffering, a learning that happens. Was anything learned? Yes, the people of Athens. Learned. It wasn't a learning for Socrates, but the people of Athens learned the price they paid for upholding an unjust law. So, extremes, the best and the worst. There is very obviously injustice in our world every single day. But we were only able to see that there is a justice if there could be a potential for learning. Otherwise, it's just suffering or punishment. Punishment is unjust and can't be a principle of reality or any sort of teacher. It's just fucking cruelty of the most ignorant, sadistic pricks finding excuses to hurt people, to play out the sadism of their parents, to be a loyal clan believer tribe member. Every single ice, toe-headed, jackbooted KKK Nazi thug playing that role out in America is doing that. Every single Jewish, Zionistic, Israeli army member playing out their genocide is doing this. Imitating belief, that's the cause of problems. But without learning, it's suffering or punishment. With learning, there can be a greater justice, requiring us to see that reincarnation exists. Or rather, it doesn't apply to a single lifetime, it applies to the whole. Equally so, mankind as a whole, it says here, has its purpose, as we just read out. I've just read it, so we don't have to go back to it. So when Socrates is saying it was just, not because of what I got to learn or experienced, it was because of what humanity got to experience. The people of Athens learned the lesson. That's the rub. If we looked at mankind as a whole, it includes us right here, right now. And he said justice requires looking at how the laws apply to the best of our citizens and those feared to be the worst. Here we have the best of mankind, Socrates, a gift from God to benefit all of mankind, saying, yeah, the people of Athens will suffer if they kill me. Humanity will suffer for 2,500 years as a result of not listening to me and instead of killing me. And we've just gone through that today. But right now, we are seeing the implications of playing out unjust laws, the pathologos, the sanctifying of the pathologos, using the law to defend primary beliefs, that right now will end all life on this planet. We are seeing the genocide. We are seeing the Nazi movements in America and elsewhere. We are seeing perpetual war and suffering. We are seeing the effects of wealth inequality on all human beings and our planet. By having laws that do not venerate and protect and celebrate and fucking listen to the best of our citizens. We can't make that mistake again. Therefore, there can only be a justice that Socrates is pointing to because he sees us now. He sees mankind as a whole. Because the only way to save humanity now is for there to be a new Socrates sharing the logos. But if we don't have a experience of what happens if we don't listen to that person and instead kill the guy or girl, we might have to learn the lesson the hard way. We can't learn it the hard way now because life is close to ending. Simply because the pathologos can play itself out with nuclear weapons and the most unjust people are in positions of power because that's what the pathologos does. Therefore, the answer to how can Socrates' trial be just requires us to see mankind as a whole. The fact that we can understand that all of our problems can be traced back to this one moment. We better not make that mistake again. We better learn what it means to be a lawmaker. What are our current lawmakers? Believers making fascistic laws that will end all life, or the modern left, which are 5. Massive difference. No principles, no understanding, and they're not fighting back. Cowards. No logos, no 3, 2, 1. In terms of cognitive functioning. Self, knowing, understanding, they are the good functionings. Believers are in opposition to those 3. And massive difference are people who go, who's to say what's right and wrong? Isn't it all relative? And of course, we've seen the Democrats setting the stage for an obvious tyrant and fascist, Donald Trump, being voted in again in America. We can see it. It's on all of our TV screens and YouTubes. In other words, we have learnt the hard way by suffering injustice as a race. The implications of not celebrating the logos and the implications of upholding unjust laws. Our laws necessarily must be based on the principles of the logos. And equally so, should another Socrates emerge, we have to make sure they have what Socrates said he should have gotten, room and board forever in the greatest place in the society, the Prytaneum. I don't know what that would be here. Buckingham Palace. Something like that. I don't know. Therefore, the question, how in the heck can something so clearly unjust be just? Socrates answered it here by talking about the people of Athens doing the learning and mentioning, hey, by the way, just as we can only see the justice in people's lives by looking at the whole of the soul. So too, when looking at human society actions like this trial, you have to also move to the man as a whole. Man as a whole also has a purpose, to know thyself, and an end. And we can reach it at any time. We are a race that is here to fulfill its destiny. The end is everywhere present. To come to know thyself is to realize the nature of reality is divine. Our task is only complicated because we seek other goals and have other loyalties. Loyalties to belief or pseudo-excellence. That's the issue. So, the historical cause to the chain of events that led to our late stage capitalist fascistic hellscape dystopia that we live now was actually just, should we learn from it? And the fact that Socrates is himself smiling his way into death, and because he's finished his work, he himself has likely transcended to that higher level of whole and can see this event happening to his physical body being not one he's identified with. Again, a recognition of the self as the whole, and that's mind, and beyond the whole of all holes, allowing him to smile his way into whatever happens, means he can see it all as a whole, and that must be what he's pointing to say that this obvious injustice is actually just. So that's our job. Our job is to learn from it. Let's make sure we don't enact the fascistic laws of Trump and Netanyahu and Putin and you name it, the list goes on, and learn from this. Otherwise, catastrophe forever. And the end of life. Equally so, let's make sure that the progressives aren't fucking around like children with no principles and understanding of the logos, and actually are making laws that reflect justice. So don't do injustice and do justice, as opposed to the current system of give all of the money and power to the most unjust and have as the opposition people who don't do anything. That's the lesson. And we're living it. So we can awaken the sleeping souls of man by stinging them with questions about this. The nature of man as a whole, as we're doing today, and the divine. The divine being the principles of the logos and justice we should be making our laws on, so that we can benefit and make best use of the greatest of us, our philosophical heroes, the true heroes on the hero's journey. You guys doing this, watching the stream, you are the true heroes, you're wizards, Harrys. To escape tribal gods and beliefs and those fetters, and actually have a metaphysical or a mythological god, not literal, that personifies, again, personification, not literal, that's barbarian, to know thyself, which is to return to the source that is the true goal of all intelligible life. Hooray. Don't use law and society to defend your false beliefs. Instead, have it reflect the logos so it can be applied universally to benefit, as Socrates was sent to universally benefit mankind. What would those laws be if they were just? Benefit the best of citizens, the Socrateses out there, the good noodles of the world, but also benefit even the worst of us. Obviously, take gun away from baby. Don't let the most ignorant and what is the word R.M. Brown uses? Troubled. In the latest R.M. Brown, this guy.
Whoa. Well, you're doing your best. Okay, so sorry, Ben. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was saying that that guy R.M. Brown. Follow him on YouTube. He's great and funny. When he reports on this sort of stuff, the latest one he did was on Netanyahu using the same playbook. These people who are not supporting our genocide, they're even right-wingers. Let's call them the woke Reich. Ha 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 ha, because they're Nazis. People who are not supporting our genocide, even the right-wing Nazis in America, we'll call them Nazis. We'll call them woke. That's how fucking stupid the word woke has always been from the beginning. No one's defined it. It just means things I don't like. Just as the current laws are the veneration or the universalization, pedestalization of people's personal bullshit beliefs. It's not that I want to be rich, says the evangelist. It's Jesus wants me to be rich. It's not that I want people to be in constant fear of their lives and fear of speaking up because everyone has a gun. It's the founding fathers that said so. It's not that I don't like that joke. That joke is disrespectful and inappropriate in the workplace. Blech. That's what the word woke means. So, just as our problems are caused by venerating personal beliefs, so too there is a way of vilifying anything in opposition to your own personal beliefs. That's what the word woke means. Or terrorist is usually used in that way. Or what were the old ones? Oh, I've even forgotten them. There's always a word for it. Whenever there's a war, there's a word that is used to dehumanize people. Oh, evil, sinners, heathens, heretics, goyim, unchosen, unclean, vermin. The Jews were called vermin and cockroaches by the German Nazis. Understandably, you can understand, if you understand this, that the Jews are also calling the Palestinians the same thing, inhuman, savages. It's always a word that takes anything different from the clan and makes them evil, just as the problems that we see in Socrates' trial is taking your own clan beliefs and make them God or law. Again, just beliefs. And it will always happen. That's why it will bring an end to all life, because belief in itself is characterized by conflict within and without. And the idea of knowing isn't actual knowing, it's sadism. There always has to be an other to enact your belief-based cruelty to appear like a guru or a sage. So, savages pretending to be sages. Now, we're using the word not to as a surrogate for evil. We're using it to understand the cognitive development of savages, people who are blindly loyal to clan tribal beliefs before we had evolved into language. So anything different from the cave, bonk on the head. So those were the tribes of humanity that survived before we were able to think. Now we can think. Our job is to put an end to that solution to a problem that no longer applies. Blind loyalty to clan leader. Yay, Trump can do no wrong. Yay, Jeebus can do no wrong. Yay, Netanyahu can do no wrong. Yay, Putin can do no wrong. Yay, Princess King Charles can do no wrong. Fucking stupid. That's savage. It's also zombie, because you can't think for yourself. You can only imitate, so you don't have a big lexicon. You can't be creative. But also zombie in that you don't have the pathologos, it has you. And it's a psychic parasite, saps your energy, distracts you from your goals, keeps you on fate train tracks. So zombies. Zombies and savages to free people and sages. That's the game. So there's the summary of where we're up to. Can we learn the lesson? Like, are we sick of not being able to afford food and rent while the billionaires become 100 billionaires and play out their sadistic belief-based cruelty on more and more people instead of, benefiting like Socrates, like understanding can? Are we sick of it? Are we bored of it? Are we tired of it? Are we sick of this timeline? If so, that would be the learning that we can do through the reflection on Socrates' trial, making that unjust thing an actual justice. Understanding the nature of the law has to be in harmony with the logos, meaning we need sages. We need the best of our citizens to be the lawmakers. That's it. That's how we solve problems. Find the best of us, which is simply those with understanding, the art of the dialectic, people who are more able to have that vision of knowledge, because that's their model. Just like a doctor has to have an image of the healthy body, we need the image of the healthy soul of justice. And people who are only motivated by that and not by fame and wealth. Anyone trying to get rich or famous, fuck off. You're not qualified. You only have to benefit the people using an understanding, logos, knowledge, so people who have that ability to dwell in that brilliant light more, and of course the art of the dialectic to share it. That's who should be making making the laws. The laws should all be understandable by anyone because they reflect the understandable paradigm. The laws have to reflect the logos. That's it. If they don't, it's
sad. And I'm sad for you.
Then it's sad, and we are sad for you. So that's it. It's either going to reflect the logos or understanding, or it's going to reflect beliefs. That's why the Trump guys are like, oh, we need to use Paul. Paul said that you can kill people who disagree with you. So let's make that the law because belief. Oh, and we believe that we're better because we're rich. So let's make everyone suffer and not be able to afford anything by hoarding all the resources and wealth. That's it. Laws can only be based on two things: ignorance or belief, or logos and understanding. That's it. It's always the two things. It's only ever the two things. Our job is only to do two things: purify the false and perfect the true. As a musician, I encounter only two kinds of people, or two states of mind in people. Cunts who are in that pseudo-excellence, and they only are negating, they're only negging, they're only criticizing, they're only a wet blanket. Or people who are open and curious and inspired by the music. They're not trying to be a knower. They're just themselves. They're just honest. They're just authentic. That's the true excellence that we are inspired by. So we said a lot about our pseudo-excellence. People who admire the excellence they see of the music, and that inspires them to achieve something similar in their own lives. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
The drive for excellence is the fuel for an inner life. It shapes them to become more real in themselves. And that becoming excellence and real inner life is what we learn and nurture, and that's what we take with us into our next life, making our next incarnation with less suffering and more happiness. And ultimately to incarnate into a non-physical, out of Hades. Hades, of course, represents, as we've seen, well, as a theory, this life. There's no actual hell, but we do play out the implications of our past lives here, and lives end flittering away like shadows. The influence of Homer has flittered away, over thousands of years. Socrates' influence, let's hope that his influence stays around for longer. But eventually, in 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years, will we remember Socrates? So those are the two sorts of people you can run into. Cunts who are stuck in their problem, their pseudo-excellence imitation of hating logos, and they have that Joker grin and they think they're being so clever, they're imitating the cruelty of their parents or parental surrogates. That's pseudo-excellence. Or true excellence, which is inspiring, which is awe-inspiring, which is authentic, which radiates a natural beauty from within and inspires people. Where does that logos, that excellence come from? Beauty or Aphrodite and Apollo. Understanding and reason that's universal and can be shared with everyone, that's Apollo. And to be able to express it in a way that's simple, brings things together into a whole, and can apply to you to benefit you, that's the principle of Aphrodite. And as we've seen, it's that inspiration by beauty and harmony, or beauty and reason, that leads us to Hermes, the dialectic. And that's what we're here to master. That's our purpose. That's how we end or fulfill our purpose as lawmakers, as individuals, as a race, and level up. Level up.
Bless you. Excuse you. Bless you.
Bless you, excuse you, bless you when you level up. Yeah, it's only the two. It's only the two. Our laws can be based on that. Our state of mind can be based on that. Our choice of goals is either based on one of the two. That's why the level 5 thinkers, massive difference, strict dualists, slop heads. So you've got knowing the self or recognizing the self. Number 2, that brilliant light of pure being that Socrates says you won't mistake for anything else. That's where the pure justice or the model of justice comes from. Understanding the reflection of those principles through time to benefit everyone. That's our purpose here, in time, to master understanding. That's the art of the dialectic. Then you have the bad states. 4, belief, which is pseudo-excellence, the imitation of those things to block those 3 things, to hurt people in those 3 things. And number 5, when you leave belief downwards, slop brain. Slop brain people don't have any principles. Who's to say what's right and wrong? Democrats. Liberals. Who gives a fuck? Let the Nazis do Nazi stuff. Black-pilled. Nihilists. But if there is beauty and harmony, and you're inspired to participate in it, can lead you to Hermes, the dialectic, allowing you to move through to the higher stages. So that's excellence, and you're either in one of those 2 states, slop brain or belief brain, or open, curious, wondering, which is more real and also a lot more fun to hang out with. Yeah. So, people who are beautiful and rational, let's encourage them to master the art of the dialectic, because that's what people are after. Why is she so beautiful? Why is she so smart? Why is she so attractive? Why does she draw people in? Or he. Can be both. The dialectic is where it's at, baby. Not debate. Never debate. Dialectic. Of course, it's a skill that you can practice and get better at. Some people are more naturally skilled, but hey, go as far as you can go. Why not? And that's what it means to be a sage. To follow the logos, to have that dialectic or the logos drive your soul, leading you to the mighty doors of justice or knowing, and through that passageway from 2 to 1, to know or recognize the eternity of self. Now you could say even number 2 is eternity. Yeah, it's divine, it's eternal. But there is a passageway through that to the knowing of self. And that's what it means to be a sage, to follow the logos. Make use of beauty and harmony, Aphrodite and Apollo, to master the art of Hermes. To know the self, to reach Zeus. Again, that's what mythology is, just a personification of these things that we say so you can remember them and share them with your friends. Okay. Can't mistake knowledge for anything else. The state of the one that we're after, Zeus, is beyond knowing. We have a voice that guides us. Should we listen to it? You can also get guidance through oracles. Harder to see nowadays, but and dreams. People who have, what's the word? Foresight. People who have foresight. When they're in their excellent state. Not when they're in the pseudo-excellent state, when they're in their excellent state. And they're being themselves. Authentic. Curious. Wondering. Free. Enjoying their self. Dancing. I like dancing. I like watching people dance. I play the music. Oracles. Dreams. Our dreams will guide us, of course. And that inner voice he calls the daemon. And it benefits everyone. Be nice to your local philosopher, because they're here to benefit everyone. And they are rare and beautiful things. Awaken the sleeping souls of man. Again, dreams and oracles, guidance. So repetition. Repetition is one of the what is symmetry, or one of the tools to emphasize, and so we've got that repeated here. If we can challenge our unjust laws, we're also putting on stage our prejudices or our false beliefs or our pathologos. We need to do that too. It's not a matter of just defeating the Nazis like in World War I. If you don't put on the stage the cause of Nazism, our false beliefs or prejudices, you're going to have fucking World War II. And even if you shoot enough Nazis, you're not solving problems. You don't punish or shoot away problems. That's why guns are so fucking stupid. You have to understand them. If you don't, what do you have? Netanyahu, modern Nazi. Trump, another modern Nazi. In other words, we still have a Nazi problem. But if we can challenge our unjust laws, we can bring to light... Oh, and also if we are establishing just laws, the people who speak out and say, I don't want everyone to afford housing. Fucking Elon Musk and the billionaires. I don't want people who have brown skin to feel safe. Fucking toe-headed racists. Yes, it's important that they surface their voices in opposition so we can see, oh, you are the people who put in these unjust laws or allowed it to happen. Let's help you, and let's help society. Let's find what caused you to be such a racist prick so that it doesn't happen again. So we can make a just laws and just institutions and just conditions so we don't grow racists. If humans emerge from our society as flowers emerge from soil, let's make fucking sure we're not growing Nazis with capitalism and a lack of the logos and Aristotelianism and Paulinism. Let's address that because if you put on the stage of public view the prejudices of the many, it makes visible their folly. That's the same for laws as individuals. If you're talking to a Nazi or a right-winger or a fascist or whatever, it's infuriating because they'll say, well, I don't like that, I disagree, or they'll just go on tangents, or they'll say, I don't care if people suffer so long as it's not my team. It's the same thing. The use of the dialectic as a skill in public, you'll have to come to an agreement at the start of the conversation. Do you agree that it's good to help people? No? Oh, okay, you're a fuckhead. Fuck off then. You shouldn't have a platform. You don't care for human beings? Get the fuck out of here. Oh wait, anyway, isn't it good to care for all people? Don't you want justice? Let's start with something that you are interested in. Justice? Do you want justice? Do you want benefit? Do you want the good? Let's talk then. And let's talk in public, so whenever you try and be a dick or lie or try and say, oh no, I actually don't care about justice, I want to be unjust. Now it's in public. It's doing these things where you can define your intention at the beginning, define the terms as you go, come into agreement at every stage of the dialectic, following reason to truth. In public, then you can actually change minds, and you can also show the prejudices that are existing that we need to address. And the thing about dialectic is it will always have the same conclusion. The dialectic are predefined steps that you can take that will come to a predefined conclusion. Because it's truth. The logos leads to truth, to justice, to benefit, to understanding the nature of the soul. All of the conclusions we've got from the texts are not because we like them or we already grew up with them. It's because they're true. And Socrates is sharing the logos. So long as we, to the extent we can follow the logos, read with this care and reflection, not just experience it, but review it. We review as much as we read. Then we can ourselves follow the logos. We'll come to the same conclusion Socrates came to. That's why there aren't many philosophies. There's just one philosophy. If you follow the logos, then you will reinvent Socrates. That's what Pierre Grimes did, and that's why he was also a gift from God, because he rediscovered the 4 elements that we lost when we murdered Socrates, allowing us to right the ship. So the dialectic has predefined stages that you can go through that will lead to a conclusion. So the statement from the right is, as they go high, we go low. In other words, we're going to abuse language, abuse truth, abuse people, destroy life, so we can have a $1 billion ballroom and eat caviar for a while until life ends, because fuck everyone. The left's motto should be, when they go low, we go hard. Not soft like the modern Democrats, and not low like lying, but go hard, because we have truth on our side. The logos follows steps that are rational to truth, true conclusions. So you can say they're predefined conclusions because they're always going to be the same. So that's truth. You don't have to worry. Just going to have to practice it. Master it, which is literally the purpose for you being here. To learn the dialectic and master it. That's the art of the dialectic. That's the purpose for mankind. No debates. They don't have the dialectic. Someone has to ask the questions and the other person follows. That's how it works. Recognize tangents. Break down the points if there's a disagreement. You can still embarrass them and make jokes at their expense if they try and lie or pretend they're not interested anymore. I'd like to continue this conversation, but I've got a meeting. Oh, really? No one wants to hear this. The American people don't want to hear this. Really? Let's ask them, because we're in public. Hey, chat, do you want me to continue? Are you interested? Would you rather watch the movie, or would you rather end this conversation and see if we can reach a true understanding together of the nature of justice? Yeah. And there are people who are better at that. There are people who are very clever and funny and, what's the word? Like warriors, brave, strong. They can see through bullies. Maybe they've been bullied during their lives, and so they can stand up to bullies or bully back when it needs to happen. But yeah, it's just keeping people to the logos. Now, you don't have to do it if they're genuine. If they're genuinely cheeky and understand, you don't bully them. And I learned that the fucking hard way. In that, I've always wanted to understand and spent my whole life putting myself in a position where I could learn from a master of the logos. And it was always very frustrating when people were like, oh, well, if you don't want to learn, then we're not going to talk to you. Well, fuck off. Of course. If anyone wants to learn. So yeah, so you got to pick your, not pick your battles, but know when to use it. But yeah, it's a skill, it's an art. You're here to learn it. We're all here to learn it. It's the hero's journey.
You're a wizard, Harry.
And in doing so, not only do you help people develop what's true, you can bring to light on the public stage the prejudices of the many and make visible their folly. Because we have two ways. Just as the difference between religion or the children of Abraham or the children of Israel and the Hellenics, the difference between belief and understanding is believers have to sacrifice wisdom, truth, and justice to accept the limits of belief, whereas every religion has that, so that's how they're all the same. Whereas understanding, or the Hellenic tradition, sacrifices the ignorance and false beliefs and injustice. In other words, we sacrifice the bad to develop the good, whereas beliefs have to sacrifice the good to develop or to stay stuck in the bad. There's no development. It's just that fucking simple. And it's obvious when you say it. But I love my beliefs. I love Jesus. I love my bubby and daddy. And all of the bullshit beliefs. Well, yeah, that's the cause of human problems. If human beings weren't addicted to it, it wouldn't be a problem. You have to go through the realization that you need to sacrifice what's false and bad, not what you did sacrifice for loyalty to Trump, to loyalty to your family clan, to loyalty to your religion. You have to sacrifice what's good. So, we sacrifice the wise to preserve the beliefs of society currently. That's Socrates. We murdered Socrates to preserve the beliefs of society. The just way of life of philosophers challenges the unjust laws and prejudices of their fellow men. So, here we have a definition of what it means to live a just life in society. But we also, earlier in the text, have the exact same expression, and our job is to weave them together. That's reading. Pure justice. Earlier in the book, page 126. Okay. We looked at the justice in the cosmos, because whatever the soul has done to others will be done to them. Therefore, the deed and consequence will be perfectly balanced, true to reincarnation. However, the way out of it, or the way of learning, the way to escape this cycle of suffering, is pure justice, which is what? Pure justice shows itself when the soul reverts upon itself to surface and eliminate the blocks to soul's excellence. So, self-reflection to remove the blocks to excellence, or the beliefs that cause pseudo-excellence. That's pure justice. That's how you escape your injustice and reincarnation suffering yourself. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Because if pure justice is removing the false beliefs that block actual excellence, we just read Socrates saying a just way of life in society is doing the exact same things, but to society's false beliefs. Rather, the just way of life for a philosopher challenges the unjust laws and prejudices of their fellow man. That does what? That blocks wisdom. So, do you want belief or do you want wisdom? Pure justice is to find your beliefs that block your wisdom. To live a just life in society is to do the same thing, but to society. Isn't it interesting that it's just the same thing over and over again? Beliefs versus understanding and wisdom. You want to remove your problems? That's pure justice. Address your own. You want to be a good force in the world? Address the ones in society. And the laws are based on. How do you do it? Hey, even though there are two aspects over and over again, removing beliefs, sacrificing the bad, and developing excellence, removing pseudo-excellence and gaining excellence, removing beliefs and developing understanding, even though there's two things, there's only really one thing. Because the way you do both is the dialectic. The way you surface your own false beliefs is the dialectic in midwifery and dream analysis. And the way you develop excellence to reach wisdom, knowing, and the self is the dialectic and dream analysis too, as well. Applied to the truth. Applied to these books. It's one activity. It's one thing. It's only one thing. One activity we're here to do, one art. The issue is and that plays out individually, it plays out within our species, it can allow us to reach our own, it allows us to master our fate and fulfill our destiny. The kinds of problems we return to again are just loyalties to anything other than our sacred goal, the art of the dialectic. Loyalty to any goal other than that, to master the art of the dialectic, is the nature of all human problems. Isn't that interesting? We're here to learn in a body. That's what learning is, the dialectic. Problems are just a loyalty to any other goal. Individually, and also, as he says here, man as a whole. The dialectic is to have the logos drive the chariot of your soul, leading you to the mighty doors of justice, and also logos and the dialectic offers a passageway to the eternal. That's what it means to be a sage. That's our purpose, from savages to sages. Now he repeats this idea of loyalty to any other goal. Yeah, so here's the repetition of the loyalty. We're here to know ourselves and to realize the nature of ourselves as nature of reality as divine. That's 1 and 2. Know the self. Realize the nature of reality as divine. 2. Through the dialectic. 3. 4 is belief. Boo. And 5 is swap brain Democrats. Even more boo. Fierce loyalty to the old. Oops. So yeah. Mankind's task is complicated because we have a loyalty to anything other than mastering the dialectic. And the problems we turn to again and again are just loyalties to anything other than that sacred goal. So that's it. Tell your friends. But again, we've made it simple and clear. Dialectic. Problem is anything other than that. Loyalty to anything other than that, which is caused by beliefs. Our job is to remove beliefs, develop understanding, excellence, wisdom. But we say it simply and clearly, and people won't get it. So we have to keep trying to figure out how to figure out that problem, how to solve that problem. Okay, you won't mistake it for ignorance once you've seen with knowledge. And here we are. This is where we are in the text, right here. All right, so let's keep reading. Bring in our friends. Jeebus is up. Let's go from here. Athens was a rare historical event. This is Socrates. It was the expression of vast and profound forces coming together, and because of this, it is not likely to be repeated in history. A society like Athens gave its citizens the freedom to break an unjust law, and then to subject it to the voice of reason. The legitimacy of the law itself is put into question. The trial forces a review of the justice of the law and the punishment. The court reviews the rationality behind the law as it applies to the best of its citizens, Soc here, and those feared to be the worst. I was allowed an opportunity to dialogue with my accusers and present my case before the 501. 501 represent. I don't know. No, I didn't do that. In the jury. Punishment? Well, no, I did not suffer. It caused me no anguish, and I smiled my way through the doorway of death. Doorway, not end. Was anything learned? Here's the twist. Get M. Night Shyamalan on the phone and get a conference call with... God, who's the other guy? Nolan. Christopher Nolan. Are you there, Chris and Shyamalan? I've got a twist for you. There was learning. But not me. The people of Athens. They learned the price they paid for upholding an unjust law. That's us now. We have an opportunity to be those people. We can look at this trial, trace all our suffering back and our injustice back to this moment, and do better this time. That's the vision that Socrates had. And here he is sharing it with us when we need it. 2,500 years later. Pretty amazing. What do you say, Owen?
Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow.
Pretty good. Pretty good work on the soundboard there. Pretty good. Pretty amazing, his vision. And Jesus. Truly, there are cities that stand as symbols for mankind to contemplate. And, let's highlight that. And among them, Athens and Jerusalem shine with a particular brightness. Bright, personifying reason, understanding, and personifying belief. The two things we're to do, the removal of beliefs that cause problems and the development of understanding that solves them. It's the two things, Jerusalem and Athens. Symbols, mythology. We're reading mythologically. All right. What gave them that sacred mark reaches into strange hypotheses about the future of mankind. Ooh. Your reincarnation brought you into a most brilliant stage of history. Through this event, you arrived at the stage of history for your destiny to be known to all mankind. Now that's an element. Time. Why 2,500 years ago for Sock? Why can it only come to light now? I read this out earlier in the book. And we'll find it because it's worth pointing out. Why did it take... No. It took... in your time. Come on. Philosophers. Here we go. I got there. Page 102. Those later philosophers here, right now, in our age, Dr. Pierre Grimes and us, discovered more about Socrates' way of being than those who were present about you. If so, why do we have to wait until 2025, or around this time, for, because, Pierre was before. Why do we have to wait for later thinkers to see what was already there to be seen in the past? Shall we say that later philosophers' vision was not obscured by that thing, remember? A need to add what they wanted to believe to what was being revealed. And then he goes on to where Plato missed the mark, of course. So that's the issue. Pierre Grimes was able to rediscover Socrates and, with the help of Juan Balboa, translate the text properly. And so we have now got what Socrates was saying. It took us 2,500 years to rediscover what was ended when we murdered the guy. But apparently it's worth it, which means time plays a factor in the destiny of man, in the whole of mankind's movement. Fan's a bit chilly. Yeah. Why now? Why now? And why then? Did this have to have happened? Does it have to take 2,500 years because man's so fucking stupid that it takes us that long to wake up and reflect on the effect of our actions? Are we at that? Are we that stupid? Are we at that such a level of stupidity within our development? It seems so. Like, have you seen our world, our society, our structure, our laws, our leaders? Pretty fucking stupid. Obviously so. Cartoonishly, obviously so. So this is an issue. Time. And for there to be a use of the art in medicine, a doctor has to see through time. You won't prescribe the medicine to the alcoholic to fix his, broken arm, if you know he's going to go on a bender because he's an alcoholic. You have to see into the future and say, okay, I'm not going to prescribe this pain medication because it's going to mix poorly with his alcohol. That I know in the future, even though he's telling me he won't, I know he's going to relapse. Also, in the future, I have to do follow-ups. So you have to function through time, even as a doctor. So too for a dialectician and philosopher, like Socrates. So this is important. Stages in history. Why was this gift sent at this time? Why was Pierre sent at that time? Why is it only now we can discover philosophy again? Because we have nukes. I don't know. But it's an important question. Bring back our dudes.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
But this is probably the stupidest, craziest example of this little kid style guy.
Come on, RM, we're doing our best.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Your reincarnation brought you into a most brilliant stage of history. Through this event, you arrived at the stage of history for your destiny to be known to all mankind. Right then. What happened then? Well, we had sages like Parmenides and Diotima, the lady. Right after him, we had the first universities in the West, the Academy in Athens. Plato. So he came at a time where we were able to do 1,000 years of scholarship on the works of Socrates. Again, burnt by the Catholic Church, Emperor Justinian, and 521 AD, I think it was. The beginning of the Dark Ages. Murdering philosophers, burning people. Terrible fucking horseshit based on belief. But that's who they studied at the universities. So interesting point in history, right? Yes! 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 The glory of Athens is unique. Destiny and the future of mankind shake hands. Ooh, like this. So the destiny is the highest goal, the excellence we're here to reach, our purpose. Should we not fall into extinction? And our future. So there could be a future for mankind where we fulfill that destiny, or we succumb to fate and go extinct. But we can shake hands. Destiny and the future of mankind dap each other up, bros. When society turns towards mind, capital M, and the things of mind, there is a flowering of culture. When it turns But when it turns criminal and becomes oppressive, my kind of philosophy can't play its public role. Calling our shots up in here. What did we just say? The beginning of the Dark Ages, where everything went to shit, was when philosophy was oppressed. Philosophers were murdered. People were killed by the fuckers trying to start the church. Based on Paul. Criminal to read a book. Criminal to understand. Criminal to even read the Bible. Or even have a Bible in a language you could read. That's culture becoming criminal. There's either flowering of culture in understanding or a criminal culture that oppresses understanding based on belief. Ain't no coinkydink that MAGA appeals to religious believers and Netanyahu appeals to Jewish believers. It's always the same fucking game. Belief is a state of conflict that desires to inflict harm the way they were suffered in principle. Understanding solves problems and reaches excellence. It's just that simple. So simple, we could make it a secret esoteric tradition and do Freemason hand symbols like the believers do. It's a joke. We don't do that. It's for everyone.
I'm looking for someone to share in
So when it turns towards the mind, There is a flowering of culture, but when it turns criminal and becomes oppressive, my kind of philosophy cannot play its public role. What have we been saying? Lawmakers need to be dialecticians and philosophers. Public role. Well done. Oh, by the way, when this point was made in the Republic, the guy Socrates was talking to said, hey, really? You think the people in charge should be philosophers? Now, this was after he was saying, some people seek power for money, some for fame, but these are all believers. The people who should be leading are the people who don't want to lead because they'd rather be doing philosophy. They're not interested in money and fame. They're interested in truth and wisdom. So therefore, for there to be a just world, the philosophers have to be leading. Or the leaders need to be philosophical. And the guy he was talking to said, hey, you better strip naked, buddy. Because that's what everyone says. Right? The billionaires say the billionaire should be in charge. The technocrats say the technocrats should be in charge. The evangelists say that they should be in charge. The murderous religious believers like Netanyahu say they should be in charge. Literally, I'm the only one who can save the Jewish people by killing everyone because fuck everyone, I'm a disgusting prick. So here you are saying, oh, your group needs to be in charge. Everyone says that. You better strip down because they used to wrestle naked. Because you better get ready for a fight because the people are going to fight you if you say that. So, yeah, because it's, it sounds like you're just one of those other people. Now it's different because it's true. But yeah, so whenever you make that point, therefore, Socratic philosophy needs to be playing a public role, or in other words, true philosophers need to be in charge, or the lawmakers, then take off all your clothes as soon as you say it. And then people are like, whoa. First of all, it's going to distract them from the fact that you've just said that philosophers need to be in charge, which will challenge their beliefs. And second, they'll be like, why are you naked all of a sudden? Because Socrates said to. Get naked when you say this. And they'll say, Socrates said it. Oh, that sounds wise. They'll say, I'll say, yes, yes, I am smart too. Socrates, you say, yes, I am familiar with his works. Yes, no, I get why you're naked. Yes, it's obvious. Yes, it's epistemologically obvious to me. It's a Cartesian, Kantian, Hegelian reason for this. Yes, I see. It's yes, naked, you say. Yes, naked. Philosophers should be in charge. I can see by your nakedness that they should be in charge. So that's what you should do. Do philosophy and get naked. Well done, says Jesus. But now these are the words of Plato, are they not? So what is it he missed? Oh yeah, that's the Republic. That's Plato saying, get naked once you say that philosophers need to be in charge. Because people want to fight you. Because they think you're just doing the same thing everyone does. If he were able to know such things, Plato would have shared with us what dreams and oracles shaped his destiny. Notice Plato's statement of my claim that what has come to me includes in every way. Let me just. I think there we go. Just add 2 decibels to the soundboard. Plato's statement of my claim that what has come to me includes in every way in which some divine influence has ever come to man. So all of the possible ways you can get guidance or divine communication to a person. Socrates had the whole lot. Clearly, this is worth explaining. So we want to know, what are all the ways? We've talked about oracles and dreams and the inner voice of the daemon. What else? What else? Right? You got your fax machine. You got your beeper, pager. You got your landline. But maybe there's other things. Maybe there's a cell phone communication. Maybe there's semaphore. Morse code. What are the other ways that we can tap into? The claim is as startling to hear as it is to accept. I claim that any way in which anyone in the past has ever been influenced by the divine has also happened to me.
You've been a bad little getting a spanking right now.
Not now, Emma. Not now. There are not many claims that can match that one, right? How many religious cults or sects or divisions of religion are based on some guy saying, oh yes, God spoke to me? How many wars and genocides and mass murder has happened because God told me to do it? Now, all of the actual ways God can communicate to people ever, Socrates had all of them. So if you wanted to make a religion based on a prophet, it better be Socratic philosophy. Otherwise, your religion is crappy, is a diminished version. You've got a Timu religion. If it's based on a prophet, oh, he's got special communication to God. We'll do whatever he says. That's a Timu religion because Socrates had all of them. And of course, we don't want to do religion anyway, but if you were, pick the best one, because that will offer you a way out of belief. I wonder about this issue that is in front of us, says Jesus. You think that it is best for the wise among us to talk openly about what has shaped their spiritual life. This is funny. Like, one of the first times I went to visit Pierre in California, Cali, there was this Canadian film crew doing a documentary there. And Pierre said, oh, come over and help me set up for the interview. So I moved some furniture around or whatever, and we had a little bit of a talk beforehand. I mentioned in the conversation we had before the crew showed up, his Facebook profile, quote or whatever it was from his Orange Book. It is entirely possible to verify for ourselves we are part of an intelligible and caring universe. The verification is a kind of a proof, since it's based on a way of understanding that mind is constantly communicating to us and for our benefit. Now, Socrates says all of the ways that mind communicates to us and for our benefit, he was open and receptive to. And then the quote goes on to say, the choice of goals we have. Oh, actually, let's read the whole thing because it's relevant to now, considering we want all of the different ways. So maybe that will help give us an insight. It's chapter 2 of the midwifery book. You just take a second to pull it up. Hold, please. Hold, please. It's the very first line. One of the best things ever written. I remember I said that once and there was some troll in chat. How dare you say such a thing? Best as if. Believers are so funny. I have no understanding, but that sounds weird to me. So I'm going to be a contrarian because that's what it means to be knowing, says a believer. Anyway, here it is. Oh, let me pull it up on the screen. Here we go. Where is it? Where is it? Whoop, that's the one. And then, here we go. It is entirely possible to verify for oneself that we are part of a caring and intelligible universe. Remember, the source of our ignorance and beliefs come from someone appearing caring, appearing to know the truth about reality. The reason we have such terrible problems is we are set up for enlightenment, for this realization, so much so that the imitation of it causes something even stronger. Pathologos. Anyway, let's go back to the quote. It is entirely possible to verify for oneself that we are part of a caring and intelligible universe. The verification is a kind of proof, since it is a way of understanding that is based upon a realization that our mind constantly communicates with us and for our benefit. The communications from the mind are as profound as they are utterly appropriate to our circumstances. Profound and appropriate. While the scope of the mind is pervasive, its precision is always directed to what is personally significant. Wow. Profound, appropriate, pervasive, precise. We will demonstrate in the book that we've read a whole bunch. You can find the playlist on YouTube. We've taken a pause. We're about chapter 5. Taken a pause to read this book because this book bangs so hard. But yeah, we'll demonstrate that our choice of goals, the problems we face, the daydreams or fantasies we have, and the dreams that visit us in our sleep, each and every one of them are like doorways into the richest sources of insight into our life. What we discover through these insights is that the mind itself provides ample evidence of its own goodness and intelligibility. The mind itself, meaning you can understand and know it. No need for belief. So, it's entirely possible to verify for oneself we are part of a caring and intelligible universe. And it's based upon a realization that the mind communicates to us for our benefit. Socrates says all of the way that the divine or mind communicates to him, he has access to or accessed in his life. So that has to include dreams, fantasies, daydreams. Also the choice of goals and our problems. So that's not a complete list, but I don't know, it's worth looking at. It added a couple of elements. Hey, sus. Why is it when people are nice to me, I emotionally shut down and it doesn't reach me? What do you think? I wish I could accept their love and their sweetness. What do you think is behind this pattern you've realized? We don't know. Well, if it's a pattern, it must have a origin. You must have learned it at some stage, right? It must have been a solution to a problem that applied in your house growing up that no longer applies in the real world. That's the false analogy you carry. Life is like my house. It isn't. That's the root analogy behind our problems. Been a very big block on friendships and relationships. I can give love, but receiving it is hard. Well, The trick is I've had a hard time making friendships because they care, and I just can leave so easily without remorse. Well, that is a problem, right? The problems we face are doorways to the richest source of insights into our life. Says what we just read. If you are part of a caring and intelligible universe, you can recognize that by the realization that is a communication from mind to you for your benefit. How could it benefit you? How could this repeating block be of benefit? What sort of things can benefit us? Would you agree that there are two kinds of categories? Because I won't get emotionally attached. How is that benefit? Would you say that you can be benefited by either removing what's false or perfecting what's true? Would these be the two kinds of thing? So it doesn't benefit. So it must be a message about what's false, giving you what you need to reflect on to purify or remove what's false and blocking you, if it's a communication that benefits. So it's good that you've written it out. Now you can reflect upon the words that you've written out to get the clues. That's the logos. It's been this way your whole life. Yeah. So it's got a past, meaning you can trace it back through your past to its origin, where you first learned it. Now, what are you looking for? The way of tracing it back through your past is the state of mind. How did you feel? Put words on how it felt in the present when you experienced it recently. Did you feel hot? Did you feel cold? Did you feel scared? Can you use any metaphors or analogies to describe that feeling state? That feeling state is your DeLorean time machine through your past. Numbness, that's a good word. But also you can look at not just the state of mind, but the words. Receiving, love, sweetness, accepting, emotional. So there seems to be something to do with love or care and receiving, tied to a state of mind of bleh and numbness. The next step is to trace that through. Where did you experience it last week, or in your past, or at school? Find either, if you can bring to mind either first of all, put more words on that state of mind. It's going to make it easier to get into the DeLorean if you have more words to describe that state of mind. But then after you've got more words, when is the earliest or strongest you've felt that in the past? What we're hunting is an origin scene. People celebrating my journey and saying words like, "Oh, we're friends." And I was very uncomfortable. And what did you do when you were uncomfortable? See, the state of mind results in functioning as well. It's like internally, like, don't get close to me. Because when people get close to you, what happens? Thank you, that's so sweet. But it sounds like there was something that you could have done that you would have liked to have done to enrich the connection that you were blocked from doing. I get more emotional and care more than I should. Hang on a second, there's a conflict there. You're saying you want to detach. Oh, if you did attach, you would get more emotional and care more than I should. Great. When you hear those words in your mind, who do they sound like? Who says, you are too emotional, you're caring more than you should? Because that's a value judgment or a truth statement about caring and emotions, right? Someone who says that is claiming to know the exact amount of care and what it means to be emotional. They are claiming to be a knower. Now here's the twist. They don't fucking know shit because they're not a philosopher. They're imitating. That's why believers imitate cruelty, because you can't imitate what we're going through because this requires learning. It sounds like your siblings and parents. Which parent? I tried very hard to prevent my mum from becoming a diabetic and preventing her sickness from eating unhealthy foods. You care more than you should. Who does that sound like? By the way, in answer to your first question, why did you respond to that in that way? Because that response feels real. That voice appears true. And the image of yourself does not fit with what they are saying about you. So it feels uncomfortable. I'm not the sort of person who can have friends. Telling people how healthy they were when I was younger and couldn't stand them hurt seeing themselves, because I know how to make people happy and give them what they want. What's that called? Giving people what they want. By the way, what we read here is the mind communicates what is appropriate to us, precisely directed to what's personally significant to our benefit. Right. Mind doesn't give you what you want. When you go to a doctor, you get benefit medically, not by giving you all the drugs you want, but to give you what you need. You're giving them what they want. Is that benefiting them? By the way, what's it called when there's someone living in the house that's entire job and role is to give people what they want? Is there a name for that job or role? Kind of. If you had someone in the house and his entire existence was to find other people and find what they want and give it to them, what would you call that person? That's their whole job. That's their role in the house. To find out, hey, what do you want? What do you want? I'll give it to you. What do you want? What's the role? Nope. It's not a giver. Because a giver can decide what you want to give. You're saying, what do you want? I don't know. Have you think of any movies or fairy tales that has someone whose role is to entirely stay in the house and find what the other people want, and all of their life energy is directed into doing what they tell them and what they want? Not what helps, not what benefits. Yeah, no, not a fairy godmother. Right fairy tale, though. Fairy godmother doesn't give you what you want. It's the guide to help you realize your highest potential. That's not what you... What role does Cinderella have? What's the name for her role? Bingo. That was your role in the house. Is that role inconsistent with a new kind of relationship being offered by friends in your present? Can you be they're offering you what? Friendship and care? What's that? Is that a slave relationship? To offer a mature relationship of friendship and care and understanding support, is that a slave relationship? Therefore, you have a choice. Exactly. It's the same choice we've been seeing. It's the same choice we've been reading over and over again. It's the question of sacrifice. Believers have to sacrifice the good to accept the limits of being a believer, being a Mormon, being a family clan member with that role. Whereas the true purpose of man is to find and sacrifice the false that blocks your excellence and development. So your choice is, you get to choose, do you want to sacrifice this new, mature, caring relationship, or do you want to sacrifice the role of slave you grew up with that gave you a loyalty and a role and an identity and a self-image and a mask in your house? Do you want to sacrifice that for the good? That's the choice. One leads to fate, to forever be enchained in that role given in your childhood, fate. The other one, if you can sacrifice your fate through this kind of reflection, opens you up to your highest excellence or your destiny. But you can see, right, you can't have both. They are inconsistent, they are incompatible. Which do you want to sacrifice? By the way, if you sacrifice the old role that kept you enslaved, then you are going to have to require courage, because all of the familiar scripts that you've played out, you know how to be a Cinderella, you know how to do those things, you know that mask, you know how to manipulate through that mask. You're going to have to let them all go. It's not a gaining of anything, it's a letting go of all of these things you've been carrying with you to allow your true self and true freedom to emerge. That can be scary, but because we've been learning about the stages of learning, you can recognize that shock or puzzlement or fear or numbness in a higher sense as stages of learning. You have a question, you asked it today. You realize, if I let go of all of these old teachings, what will I do? I realized I was wrong. That's why it requires courage. It also leaves you open to follow the Logos as it unfolds in your life, in your relationships, in your dreams, in your reading. But then you'll find, if you're open to it, you'll come to new, higher conclusions. The conclusions you've been making up until now have just been ones that have been supporting your role of a slave. See, I've always deserved this. I was right all along. But if you come to new conclusions, you feel a joy. And you are left, hey, that feeling of certainty, this is what I should be doing, this is what's comfortable and uncomfortable, that's a pretense of knowing. And you think you're right. And that voice that says you care too much or you don't deserve, whatever that voice says, that voice is you think it's a knower. You end up dropping it away and you're left in an open state. Yeah. They support you with things, and you feel sad, and you want to cry, and you feel overwhelmed. Yeah. These are all things that might block your expression of appreciation, your ability to develop that relationship further with words, honesty. Yeah. The goal is to drop it. And that will make you feel puzzled and numb. But you can recognize them as the absolutely necessary stages of learning, because each of these stages of learning, or cognitive stages, are accompanied with feelings in the body. Literally, you have a body in this reincarnation so that you feel all these feelings. Firstly, the ones that cause your problems that you were describing, but as you realize, oh, I'm in that role. As you drop it, you'll feel numb and shocked and stung and puzzled, but it will leave you open to seeing what unfolds and expressing yourself most authentically and rationally. Now that's the game. But here's the but. There are two things in philosophy, ifs and buts. If you want to reach your highest self goals, if you want to remove your problems, you go through this. But here's the but. The but is while you can understand these things, that voice will always seem more real. Even if you're able to let go of those, to that voice and those roles and patterns, enough to be completely open to enlightenment itself, to know yourself as divine, even then, that voice will still feel more real. That's the rub. Meaning, your job is to put yourself in situations like that again and again with those people and take notes about that voice, what is said, how it feels, metaphors to help you understand what it feels. So the words and thoughts and the states of mind. Be a numb robot and run away. Got it. Yes, that's the teaching. That's the early teaching you'll hear to surface and remove. But here's the rub.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
You can't reason yourself out of this position that you didn't reason yourself into. So while it makes sense that it's not going to help anyone to be a numb robot run away, it's not going to help develop your relationship, it's not going to help you reach higher relationships, it's not going to help you learn and do dialectics and explore dreams together and help people reach their highest goals and etc., etc., etc. That's an important first step, but you also have to trace it back through your past to see it has a history. When is it happening in the present? When did it happen last week? When did it happen last year? When did it happen when you were in school? When did it happen in childhood? Can you find the earliest time that you had that feeling? And the more words you can put on that feeling, the better. And here's the help that you're getting from mind. You are going to have these problems again and again to give you all of the clues. Your job is to write them down. Otherwise, they'll keep happening. But if you write them down, you'll have clues. It's been that way through most of your life. Exactly. So we want to jump in that time machine and visit those moments in your past where you've been in that state of mind to explore how that plays out. And then you can awaken earlier and earlier ones to find the earliest because that's when you first learnt that this image and mask was you. That feeling state, uncomfortable, numb, overwhelmed, that's what mind is. And that way of functioning, or that role of being a Cinderella slave, was your highest expression of love and truth. You have to find the origin scene. And you will, if you're in the game, if you're doing this. And then we do what we weren't able to do when we were in those conditions. So in midwifery, you get the ideal conditions to put words on it now. Hey, bucko, let's talk about what you are pretending to be. Let's talk about this teaching. Let's talk about all the other family members who were there playing their own roles in this great charade. Let's talk about who you learned this bullshit from, and let's compare it to what true justice is that we have been learning by actually using our fucking brains and minds and reading these books. So we create the ideal conditions in this kind of reflection to do what were dangerous to do back then. Speak up. Once you've understood that origin scene, what was involved, the conditions for it to be believable, and you speak up and say, hey, this is what justice really is, and you weren't being just, my friend, then you're free. This is the dialectic applied to finding the origin scene, and then the dialectic applied to the origin scene, and your dreams will give you guidance in both. That's the dialectic applied to unpacking the meaning of your dreams. It's all dialectics, baby. Oh, and by the way, as you go through that, you'll be free from that image, mask, and role to allow the natural logos and self to unfold naturally in that flow state with the full force of your being, without any distractions or tangents like that. Most appropriate for the situation, without any thinking or planning. That's the justice flow state. And what are you going to be doing? Developing better relationships. Not based on roles and masks from childhood, but based on the logos. In other words, you'll be having dialectics. You'll be talking about, you'll encourage them to reflect on their problems, as we did just now, and on their goals. That's dialectic, baby. And their dreams. And maybe you'll create works together. That's the dialectic applied to your art, your comics. In other words, both in the purification of our problems, in the stages of that, and in the development of the healthy relationships, it's all dialectics, baby. Meaning you are learning the skill of dialectic, the art of dialectic, and you're practicing it in every time, in every way, and because that's the thing that we're doing at all times. If you're not, you're just training yourself through a negative dialectic to be more entrenched in that image and mask. You're teaching yourself that you suck. You're teaching yourself that you're a slave. You're teaching yourself that you're a bad noodle and a small bean. But the dialectic is the opposite. You're either doing one or the other. You're either teaching and ingraining in your soul beliefs through a negative dialectic, or the truth through this dialectic, the true dialectic. Therefore, you're developing the art that we're here to do, the dialectic, and you're also practicing it at all times, so you're nurturing it into your soul. Continue to take notes. Continue to reflect back on where, how it goes through your past. Find the earliest or the strongest experience of that. And listen to your dreams. In that way, you can see through your choice of goals, through the thoughts that come up as you live your life, those fantasies and tangents and distractions and negative thoughts and criticisms. In The problems you face, your choice of goals, the daydreams and fantasies you have, and in your dreams, each of them are doorways to the richest sources of insights into your life. In that way, mind is caring and intelligible and constantly communicating to you for your benefit. The way we unpack it is through this kind of reflection and dialectic. And that's that first paragraph, which is a banger. And the thing is, you don't have to believe anyone, because if you do it, you'll see it for yourself. Because the verification is the proof, since it's a new way of understanding that is based on the realization that that's how your mind is constantly communicating to you and for your benefit. Isn't that neat? So even this reflection, you get a chance next time you see someone, a good person, nice person, get a chance to see if this made a difference. If you can recognize that voice, if you can put a name on, oh, that sounds like dad, a mum. She would say that to her. She didn't even listen to me, and she could have taken my health advice, and she didn't. So screw you, voice of mum pretending to be a knower. I know where that leads: unhealthiness in relationships and in the body. Oh, I feel overwhelmed again. Ah, I know that. That's a teaching from her. Not listening to that. Oh, I feel like I need to be a slave. Oh, that's Cinderella. I don't want to live that life. See what happens. But you'll also get the problems to come up to give you more clues so you can trace it back to the origin. So that's the game. And Socrates says, not only am I realizing those things that we just went through now, but all of the other ways too. Sorry, let me check in. What do you think of all this? How are you feeling right now? So lately you're tired and exhausted. That's the psychic parasite of the pathologos. That's why we call it a zombie virus. It saps your energy, takes away your energy. But also, hey, that's another clue. It's like a diamond. You got to see all facets before you can really see the whole thing. What role did being tired or exhausted play? How does that... If you were being a slave and you don't want to be a slave, did you get special kind of care of some kind? Did you get let off the hook when you were tired and exhausted? I wish I could connect with people's emotions. Well, that's what we're learning. We're learning right now how to connect with your emotions or feeling states or states of mind in a rational way, because they reflect either true vision or your belief blocks. That's midwifery, giving birth to either states of enlightenment or insight, or giving birth to sick babies that need to be aborted, states of mind that reflect the false belief. More emotionally shut down when exhausted, more aura, but you're right. So the next thing you can wonder about is what role being tired and exhausted would play in your house. If your role was to be a Cinderella, right? Did you get what happened when you were tired? Did they leave you alone? Did they give you care? You don't have to... see? So if... within, like, at home as a child. Now, I fractured my foot from pushing myself too hard. What role would that play? If you didn't want to be a slave, did you get any special care or consideration? If you had a physical injury? This is seeing them, how all of the different aspects, not really, well, keep it as a question. What role would having a fractured foot play with your Cinderella role? They praised you. Oh, it showed that you worked hard and you would get praise. Ah, so you would get a certain kind of rare affection and attention if you could demonstrate you've been working so hard you're injured or exhausted. I wonder if that's relevant to the whole picture. See, the thing about a problem is, by definition, it's solvable. And when I made money from working as a cleaner, yes, which your mum took. Ah, what's that role? They get the money. They're using you as a... Exactly. Piggy bank. Right, yeah, good slave. You're also a piggy bank. But look at all the images you have. You've got the images of a piggy bank. You've got a fractured foot. You've got feeling tired and exhausted as a state of mind. You've got autopilot. You've got numb. Imagine the comics or that you can make with your art. Each of those are rich images, like a piggy bank could be a character, feeling states. People would praise me when you took on all the responsibility. Yeah, of course, let them off the hook, like a good slave. But look at the images. If you represent them in your art, your comics and animation, you can gain a familiarity with these things. You can have fun expressing all of these elements. And if you gain a familiarity with all of these elements, these logos and states of mind that you are expressing, you can have an easier and more fun time putting all the pieces together. You realize no matter how much you give, that will never get validation. Exactly. It's stagnant. You can't grow. It's a trap. That's fate. Yes, it would become an expectation for others. Exactly. They are. So there's the original false teaching, image, and role. And then there are all these other things that branch out like a web that support and maintain it. Now you have to do everything. Now that you have got all the responsibility. Now you've got these expectations. Right, and you don't even care for yourself when you fractured your foot. That's how much of a good slave you are. Notice, you are a fantastic student to a terrible teacher. That's the nature of all human problems. Look at how wonderful a slave. You're giving all your money away and you're not even going to the doctor. Now that's fucked for a person, but a brilliant or a fantastic student to a terrible teacher. That's the issue. We need to find that early teaching scene. And all of these things are clues. And you can write stories about, because also, you know how they say, write what you know? You don't have to work hard on creating an idea for a comic book. Your mind gives you all of this. The main character, or you can have a comic representing all of these things as metaphors. Now, that's going to help you remember all of these pieces, because your job is Sherlock Holmes. You've got to put the crime scene together. These are all the clues. And the more elements that you can recognize, which means you've got to put yourself out in these situations where you find not cruel stepmothers, but good people, rational people, good hearts and good minds, and try and put yourself in that situation more and more so that you can surface more and more clues, because those things will come up to block you from those relationships. Write them down. Draw pictures about them. Your dreams will help you as well. Those are the clues that will allow you to piece together the crime scene, and the crime scene is the origin scene. And the states of mind is your time machine. Where did you feel like it in the past? Yeah. So see, what you just said, working 3 jobs at once, wouldn't that make you an exceptional student to a terrible teacher? You were the best Cinderella to the worst cruel stepmothers? Stepsisters, or whatever they were in that comic? And these are all clues. Now, the idea is to find the original teaching scene. Trace it through your history. As you're doing, you're tracing it through your past. Go earlier. When did you find it at school? Primary school. And then even earlier, before you even got to school, around the age of 4 or 5 or 6. When did you feel the same way then? Because all of these is you further learning and nurturing that false, stagnant belief throughout your life. You become identified with it. That becomes your self-image, your mask. That's the learning and nurturing, and then that will be your reincarnation. Your soul will pick another reincarnation based on that learning and nurture. That will play out the implications of you failing to do your work or your justice. Because pure justice, as we just read, was reflecting on that. Pure justice we just read. Let's do it here. Pure justice is when the soul reverts upon itself, as you're doing, to surface and eliminate those blocks to self-excellence. That's pure justice. That's your job. Everything we've been saying are the steps to that, to finding those clues, tracing it through your past based on states of mind that you feel now, to find the origin scene, the crime scene, and piece it together and find Moriarty. That's pure justice. And everything you've been learning about this systematic question and answers based on truth, justice, and beauty. Is it actually true? Is it actually good for you to do those things? Everything you've learned and you've experienced along the way to get to that origin scene, you've carried with you in your back pocket as you're learning and nurturing, meaning you've been developing the dialectic along the way, meaning when you get back to that origin scene, you can look your first teacher in the eye and dialectic their bitch ass. Hey, you want me to accept this teaching without words. Well, fuck you. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do dialectic. Why? Because it's the only thing that benefits us, and it's what we're here for. It's gotten me to this scene again. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to judge your answers. They are going to be about the things that we've been learning all the way along. Truth, justice, and beauty. You are presenting yourself as beautiful, but it's an image. You are acting as though you know truth, but you don't know shit. Who are you copying? You are presenting yourself as knowing the truth of reality and being just. But you know what? How this has functioned through my life? It has done this, this, and this, and it's been unjust. What you are teaching me is unjust. Your image of truth is not. Who was your teacher? So you can dialectic their ass. Because that's why we accepted our teaching, because we didn't have the maturity to have a grasp of the logos enough to dialectic them when they were cosplaying the knower, setting up a big act, a charade that they got from their parents and their parents from their parents and their parents, all the way back to the caveman days, to the cave. And so we accepted it. You must be right, I must be wrong. And I could never have expected this. So that's where you get childhood amnesia. You forget everything you've been developing up until that point, because that must all be wrong, because I could never have expected someone loving and caring to treat me like this. So you sacrifice your old way of life, your old way of being, for clan loyalty and a role and a mask. And that becomes your life, And as you've seen, it plays out all the way through your life. It blocks you in the same ways. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It traps you to the same blocks and ignorance, and it blocks you from your excellence. That's fate. You are here to master fate. That's the dialectic. And once you're free from fate, well, it's up to you. You're free now. You might want to use that art of dialectic to actually, if what they presented was the image of beauty and love and truth, you may be curious about using that dialectic you've mastered along the way to find the truth about beauty, justice, truth, and your true self, if you want. Oh, and you know what? Because it's the thing that has helped you the most in every aspect of your life, you might want to share it with others. And maybe dialectic help them through the process too. And you might even want to talk about have your characters in your animated universe go through similar things so you can share it with even more people. I mean, why not? You carry along, the soul dies and reincarnates, carrying along with it whatever it has learned and nurtured from its past. Either that image and role, that's your fate, or the dialectic that can awaken you to your destiny. And by the way, if you do that, you are living a life of pure justice. Might be worth doing, considering whether or not we are just or unjust plays out even in our next lives. Or especially in our next lives. So, good for you. Hooray. Thank you, Awakening. You are senpai after all. Yes, I am the sexiest of all of the senpais.
I've been a bad little girl.
That's what I say to all of my students. Hey, welcome, Crash. I always felt you had amazing insight. Oh, that's just the book. All of that's just from the book. Because this book bangs so much. All we're doing is by reading it with this in this careful way and reflecting on our reading and piecing it together. Everything that we talked about you going through to find the clues as you approach excellence or approach good people, those feelings, thoughts, and things. Find all the other elements, weave them together, trace them back through the past, find the root cause. We're literally doing all of those things to the book. The excellence we are doing is mastering this book, listening to Socrates, mastering the Logos. To do it, we have to surface all the clues, not from our own blocks, but from the book. So literally, the way that we've been learning how to read, you can apply to the book, that's philosophy, or to your problems. It's the same thing. It's only the one game, it's the dialectic. Fun for the whole family.
I'm looking for someone to share in.
Looking for people to share in the adventure. So, so those thoughts that you had as you seeked your excellence, the feelings, even if they were negative, that kaka daemon, that voice of the false, kaka daemon means bad voice of the pathologo self. But also Socrates says, hey, not only do I have them, I also can connect to the good daemon, the eudaimon, the voice of the self and of intuition that guides me up to my higher goals. Yeah, kaka, isn't it funny? Kaka is a Greek word for bad. Dreams, oracles. Yes. I've heard of this. So, Socrates is saying, Plato's statement of my claim that what has come to me includes in every way in which some divine influence has ever come to man. Clearly this is worth explaining. The claim is startling to hear, as it is hard to accept. I claim that any way in which anyone in the past has ever been influenced by the divine has also happened to me. Wow. There are not many claims that can match this one. I hope you get to California someday also to teach people's hearts. Yes, me too. I'm like that guy from that old movie, The Wizard, where there's like some autistic boy who's always like, California. I'm him. I want to get to California. That's my goal. Yeah, to teach and reach people's hearts. Yeah, me too. It seems to be where the cool people are. But yeah, and what you just saw, you just experienced, provided you're open to it, provided you're willing to play the game of dialectic, of finding the pieces, putting them together, following through steps, tracing them back through the steps in your past, from your present to your past, even seeing what would happen in your future, if you do address it or if you don't, your fate or your destiny. This is all the structure of the dialectic. And if you do that, you can see for yourself that every block, every negative and positive emotion, every thought, every problem, every choice of goal is a message from God, the divine, to help you. You're just becoming awakened to what's there. Pass the Pikachu plushies. How about this one? It's the one on the bottom shelf. It's an octopus with a bow. And a tutu. She says...
Talking about a bunch of swap.
She says...
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
She says she's a cutie pie. She lives underneath Kirby. So Socrates is saying, hey, if I got all of those communications that we went through today, that we are awakening ourselves to, and oracles and dreams and other ones, maybe Plato should have put them all in a list. Becoming a habit to fall asleep to your streams. That's interesting because, by the way, in the Republic, there is a question, how do we awaken our highest excellence? Oh, that's fine. And Socrates gives a clue in book 7 of the Republic. If you, before you go to sleep, engage in beautiful reasonings, you might awaken higher states of being in your dreams. So, this kind of a reflection before going to sleep might be perfect, according to Socrates in the Republic. Speaking of Socrates in the Republic, and speaking of Socrates being written about by Plato, there are not many claims that says that he is open to all of the ways that the divine communicate to man. Think of how many Oh, by the way, I was telling a story about being in California with Pierre, and I'm quoted that paragraph from it's entirely possible to verify for ourselves that we are a part of an intelligible and coherent universe. The verification is a kind of proof, since it's based on a new way of understanding that shows that mind is constantly communicating to us and for our benefit. While the scope of the mind is all pervasive, it's precisely directed to what's most significant to us. So I quoted that to him from it was on his Facebook profile. And then the Canadian film crew came, and some guy was interviewing him, and I was just standing there in the back. And Pierre used that quote to begin his speech about, it's been a long time now, but I guess it would be about this, the awakening of the new age of man and what we need to do to solve our problems and reach our excellence. Just those two things, 1 and 2. Solve problems, reach excellence. Pseudo-excellence, true excellence. Purify fate, perfect destiny. That's that is. Anyway, at the end of it, he said, the guy said, this other guy's here from Australia. Does he want to ask you questions for the camera? And I mean, a million questions. But the one that was on my mind was from that talk at the meeting, like the philosophy talk that we had as a group the night before. And it was this point. If Socrates had all these yogas or meditation exercises to separate the soul from the body, to listen to the voice of the divine, to accept communications from the divine, then he did us and has had a variety of different spiritual experiences that is not part of our culture. All sorts of things that people have had that you see represented in anime. Then he did us a disservice by not cataloging, or Plato did us a disservice by not cataloging them all. This very point that we just read. So this ties me back to the beginning of my journey in California. And so I said that to him. And I said, well, and considering this, you are a master of the logos, are you not, Mr. Grimes? And you have had many experiences like this in your life. Shouldn't you share them with us? And then he told me this story of he said he was eating dinner one night and he looked down and there were 3 peas left on his plate. And he could see that each pea had divots in them. And he saw in that moment, peas, that those divots perfectly represent all of the forces on that pea up until this point in the present. Just like our friend in chat today, all of the forces upon her soul up until this point is perfectly represented in her present, in her way of being in the moment, in her choice of goals and how she responds to those goals. And he saw, all of these peas are different, but they have different divots that each perfectly represent the forces upon them till that point. And then he saw, in that moment, that's perfection. Perfection isn't some flawless ideal that we seek to attain. No, perfection is realizing there is a perfect balance or a perfect representation in the present of everything that we have experienced as a soul. Meaning a couple of things. Meaning that's perfection, to realize you are perfect, and also everything that you are going through that we talked about today is a perfect representation of all of the forces in your past, meaning you have everything you need to solve your problems because they're being perfectly expressed. You are perfect. You are perfectly expressing all of the things you need to look at that have been playing out through your life and through your soul's multiple reincarnations. You have everything you need. He would say it another way. A baby goat has everything it needs to be the excellence of a goat in the present. So he said in that moment he was freed from this weight that has weighed him down, this idea of perfection being some flawless ideal. And he could see true perfection is expressed in every moment. In that, what we just said, a perfect representation of all of the forces upon us up until this moment. How do I like that? I like that just fine. So rude, calling me perfect. Rude. Rudy. Well, you are, if I'm perfect, so are you. Haha, how do I like that? Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect. Yeah. Freed him from the chains of that false idea of perfection that can limit us to see perfection in every moment. And so he told me that story, and I was sitting there in front of the camera and the Canadian film crew going, interesting. And I was little. I was very young. And so I'm a pea, yes. And I was a small pea at the time, a sweet pea. And he said, so this was in response to what we just read in the book. Shouldn't Plato and shouldn't you, Pierre, share with us all of the different states of ways that mind has communicated to you, and states and enlightenment experiences and events that's happened to you? And his response was to tell me this peace story. And at the end of it, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And he goes, yes. Now isn't that better than any story of walking on water? And I said, yeah, it is. And that was the end of the interview. And so I walked outside. I got about 5 steps outside of his house, and I thought, oh shit, that didn't answer my question. That was a lovely story, but not answering my question. Great, also significant. But of course, I bet there was a reason why at that time it might not have been beneficial to share all of those things that he was experienced. Jesus must be, if lizards can walk on water, then so too Jesus must be a reptilian. There are some forums I think you would enjoy joining. Religious nutjobs, conspiracy theorists, and reptilians. Perfect coalition. Unity. So, so that's just a little reflection from my life of this very thing. If I made this claim of all of these connections and spiritual experiences, and which are all themselves communications from the divine to man, why didn't Plato document them all? I asked the same thing of Pierre, so full circle. Speedrun getting banned on biblical forums. I don't know. Some of those right-wing conspiracy things are into reptilians, and they're also quoting Jesus because they're believers, and they're the ones that have trouble reasoning. Jesusaurus. Now that sounds like a great character for a series of comics that you can write. That would be cool. And Jesus says, speaking of Jesus, I wonder about this issue that is in front of us. You think that it is best for the wise among us to talk openly about what has shaped their spiritual life. Yes, that's what I was doing in that interview back then, but I got distracted by peas. It wasn't a distraction. I've carried that story with me my whole life. That, of course, means no secret doctrine needs to be shared with only a few chosen ones. If you are right, then there is no need for an esoteric tradition. That's the issue. That was my point to him. Tell us all of it. Now, in retrospect, Jesus died for our sweet Shell station fuel and company stocks. All right. That's why they appeared after he died, their bones, so they could be fuel for the fossil fuel industry. All praise Jesus-osaurus. Praise him. Praise him.
Where's the passion, dude? Where's the soul?
Where's the soul? Praise Jesus-osaurus. So this is the same point I was making to him, but in retrospect, he was talking about looking into the future. He was in a process of slowly introducing ideas. Like, at the time, he wasn't talking about the one self. He was talking about the one. He had mentioned it. I heard him mention it before, and it was a puzzle to me. How come he's not using this word? But it took him a good, 20, 30, maybe 40 years to move the people in his group from reading the Parmenides talking about the one. Took him all that time to slowly move them to accept that the one that Parmenides is talking about as the highest dimension of reality is also the self. If that's the highest term, there's going to be the biggest negative response to that in all people, even Californian philosophers. Because the higher you go up the logos, the more the pathologos functions. And it requires a greater freedom from your pathologos to go higher and higher up the mountain. That's why you always aim for your excellence in order to surface and remove every element of your pathologos, which is why you have to go for the top. Go for the one self, the good self. But he was in a process of slowly introducing that. And I can remember the day when it flipped. There was one guy who was into some sort of Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, I think, and he would travel around, and he would come back to the group at intervals, and we were sitting we're having a meeting in the backyard of one of the members of the group's place, and this guy had returned. He comes, just said that. And we're sitting around the back table, reflecting on a text together as a group. And somebody asked a question. He goes, "Oh, is this about the one self?" And the other guy's like, "What?" And it was so funny. And it was one of those moments that I knew it was significant, because there was like in anime when everything slows down, and the main character can see everything happening. It was like one of those. All of a sudden, there was no background noise. And the air stopped. It was deathly still. In a profound way. Like, oh, I know this is a moment. And so I was like, oh, this is a moment. I'm going to watch what happens. And again, there are a lot of people there who all are curious and all excited to talk and all want to talk to the great Pierre. But for that moment, everything was quiet and peaceful. And the guy who'd came back, what? The one self? Don't you mean the one? And another guy, a younger member, like a younger guy, newer to the group, said, "Oh yeah." And he turns over to him in this peaceful silence, and he turns over to him and goes, "Oh yeah. We don't call it the one anymore. We call it the one self now." And I've stopped breathing. I'm like, what's he going to say to that? That's a big jump. This is from modern academic philosophy that sees Parmenides as a logical exercise, or maybe even spiritual people who think that there is a level like nirvana, like Buddhists, there is the one. No. It's the self. It's you. You are greater than God, because the divine God that creates is the level of being. The one is the cause. For there to be a God that creates, he has to have power and energy and a model and the activity of creation, any god, any religion has requires parts, meaning there is a one for it to have a oneness of parts, meaning the one automatically transcends any religious idea of God, anyone's idea of God which has qualities. It's the highest term of Parmenides. But to say that one, that is the highest term, our goal is you? What's he going to say to that? So, oh wait, the one, don't you mean the one? And the other guy, oh no, we don't say the one anymore. We call it the one self. And he pauses for a moment and he goes, oh, okay. And that was it. And then the moment ended and then the conversation continued. But that was the moment. That was the moment. In the period of time where he had been away, Pierre had completed his perhaps 40 or 20 to 40 year-long journey of helping people not only understand the one, but introduce the idea that it's also the self. And if you go back through his old videos, you can see him touching on it and then people recoiling because we think we're not good enough. We have a pathologos. We think we're a Cinderella or a slave or a small bean or a bad noodle or evil or a sinner or not good enough or inadequate. So to suggest that the highest term is your true self, to add the word self to the word one, and that was the moment. And it was beautiful and funny and amazing. And yeah. So, with that story in mind, that might have been why Pierre was reluctant to share all of his experiences at that point of time, like 20 years before, or however long it was before, 10 years before. He was able to bring people to this understanding. The fact that there is a difference between Plato and Socrates was another thing that he had been slowly introducing to the group. Took him a long time. So, this book he published like the year that he died. So here he is saying that there shouldn't be any more secrets. So maybe at that time he needed to drip feed it, like we were still learning as a race, even the best of us. But now, no secrets. And we know that because the ignorance of mankind's pathologos, its opposition or blindness to spirituality, to the oneself, its opposition because of belief to the dialectic and understanding, allows us to play out the implications of our pathologos ignorance with nuclear Armageddon. All of our current leaders are all the worst tyrants personifying the worst fucking pathologos. Again, trace back to Socrates' trial, but the fact that it happened, that he was incarnated at this time, at this point of history, where we were able to document the trial, the turning point, just as in our talk today, there was a turning point in our chatter's childhood where she was developing, then the origin scene, then her new life started. That's childhood amnesia. That's the cause of her playing out the implications of that negative role. So too at Socrates' trial, but it happened when we had the first universities following by his student. It took us 2,500, it took us 2,000 years for us to have an actual translation of the Apology, thanks to another person being born at the right time, Pierre Grimes, and his work to slowly introduce these ideas as we just talked about. But now, No fucking around. No fucking around. No secret teaching. No keeping it secret. No being polite. No talk about politics and religion at the table. None of that shit. Why? Because it's politics and religion that reject understanding for belief. They're the only professions that do. And they are the ones religiously seeking Armageddon so Jesus comes back, and politically playing out their cruelty on even their own fucking people. So no more being silent. No more pretending that religion has a monopoly on the divine. Pretending you can't understand and directly experience spirituality. And you can't have these experiences. And they're not rational. They're, fantasy and faith and belief. Bullshit. There is no doctrine that is only shared within the chosen few. And again, back then, maybe it had to be drip-fed. Even for the chosen, or not the chosen ones, the rare few who would regularly attend Pierre's talks and meetings and lectures. Even then, but no more. Time for the new age. So maybe that was the point of that interview. 20 years ago, I'm not going to say it, but now let's say it. And in one of the lectures, his most recent lectures before he passed away, he did talk about, and I think it was July 29, 1955 or something. He had a profound enlightenment experience in a dream that changed everything. So, no esoteric, there is no need for esoteric traditions. It's not just for the select Jews, it's not just for your branch of Christianity, the Mormons or the Protestants that get to go to heaven. It's not just for the secret Illuminati or the Freemasons that get to do it. It's not just for the Buddhists or the Taoists that sit under a waterfall for 20 years. It's for everyone. It's our purpose, it's the reason we're alive. It's the learning process that you've seen a demonstration of today with our chatter. It's the art of the dialectic. It opens us up to all of the ways the divine can communicate to man. But we do want to have a full list. So hopefully the book will say more about that. And now we're up to the chorus. Now the chorus are the haters. They're going to try and blow copium in our faces and pour haterade all over our fantastic insights and try and be a wet blanket. So we're not going to talk about the chorus right now. That's where we'll start next time. Fantastic book this one is, and a good reading. And thanks again to our chatter for sharing their insights and ups and downs. That's part of being in the game. To recognize ups and downs are part of the process, to keep your cool in the ups and downs, to reflect on those ups and downs with like-minded people in the game as best you can to follow the dialectic. It's that way that we can ourselves awaken ourselves to all of the ways the divine communicates to us, as Socrates did. We can also be Socratic sages. It's not esoteric, it's not just for the chosen few. It's for everyone who subscribes to my channel. Subscribe to Twitch and YouTube. There's a link to the Discord below. And if you want to support the channel financially, there's a link to donations there as well. And there's a link to the PDF. Thank you once again for sharing your thoughts and yourself in the chat. Everything that you experienced is precisely personal to you, but also pervasively universal to everyone. Everyone is going through the exact same stages, and that's how, when we share these kinds of conversations in public, as we read in the book, we benefit everyone. It's a win-win-win-win-win. Everyone has a similarity to your specifics, and everyone follows the same general paradigm. That's the Logos. Understanding relates to everyone and benefits everyone. It's a win-win-win-win-win. We always be winning when we read this banger of a book. My goodness, doesn't it bang hard? Thanks once again, and I'll see you in the next One Self. Wink.